From the Bates Motel, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who wouldn't even harm a fly, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Always love the Hitchcock references. Corey, who sent that one in, please?
That was brought to you by Eric Altieri, who would harm a fly. I have video.
Oh. Corey has video.
He does. Oh, by the way...
She blew right over that.
I know.
Okay.
So last night, celebrity sighting last night.
Yes. Who and where?
I'm at a restaurant in Brentwood.
Yes.
Called, should I say the name of the restaurant?
Yeah, why not? Give him a plug. It's not like we get advertising.
Exactly. Tavern.
Tavern.
Now, Tavern is a restaurant in Brentwood where President Obama, when he was in town a couple times ago, he ate
Yeah, he's in town again this weekend.
Yeah, no. Now Tavern's not. It's a very nice restaurant. It's not like a super fancy presidential restaurant.
Right.
It's a nice restaurant, a great bar area.
Sure.
And into the bar, and it's a small bar area, so it's not like it's a cavernous, super hip, gigantic bar thing.
Sure.
Is Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Well, how about that?
And then, so get this. And Ben Affleck looks like Ben Affleck, and Jennifer Garner looks like Jennifer Garner.
Sure.
And so get this. So it turns out
it's a good thing because I'd be very surprised if Ben Affleck looked like Jennifer Garner and Jennifer Garner looked like Ben Affleck.
In that case, I want to have sex with Ben Affleck. Is that what you're saying? If that was the case?
You know what? Neither of them. Thank you very much. But carry on.
So then, if you do your Google, it turns out that I guess they wound up from Brentwood.
Yes.
They went to Santa Monica, possibly the other way around. And it turns out that Ben Affleck accidentally sideswiped somebody's car.
Like after that?
I'm not sure if it was after or before. Did you hear the story?
No.
He winds up sideswiping somebody's car and then leaving a note on the person's car.
No kidding.
Isn't that bizarre?
Not really.
Not really.
He's got a movie coming out. It can't have any bad press.
I know. No, but he leaves a note at this person's car that says, I accidentally hit your car. It was a note on the windshield. Here's a contact number. I'll take care of everything. And I assume he left the number for his assistant or something. But
Sure.
that's what happened.
There you go.
That was Ben Affleck's night.
Wow.
And here's the thing. I was talking to our good friend Phil Klein.
Yes.
Phil Klein! And I was saying to Phil, here's the thing. Not that I would ever do this because I'm just...
When you say Phil's name, it sounds strangely like Phil is a Voxbox. But
Phil
anyway,
Klein!
so carry on.
So I said to Phil, because here's Ben Affleck, and people are leaving him alone. He's
Right.
talking to somebody he ran into. And the great thing is that as members of LAFCA, I mean, we could, like if you were there and I was there, I could have. I'm just not that guy. I don't care that much. We could have walked up to Ben Affleck and said, hey, I'm a member of the LA Film Critics Association, love your movie, whatever. And he'd have to sort of like, on a professional level, care we exist.
Yeah, okay.
So don't you think?
That's very existential.
No, it's true.
Okay.
If we were just some like douchebag who walked up and said, I love your movie, Ben. You were in the Good Will Hunting thing and I like it. Then he would probably just like put up with us for 30 seconds then tell us to go to hell.
Sure.
But as members of LAFCA, if we were to walk up to him and say, hey, man, I'm a member of LA Film Critics, Argo's terrific, he would actually have to, and maybe even want to, engage us in a minute of conversation. It is one of the perks of being in LAFCA.
I guess it is.
But you know what? Look, David Aronstein would definitely walk up to Ben Affleck and say things.
Yeah.
Because David's just hilarious. He's so gregarious and he's great.
Yeah.
Me, I just want to eat my food.
Okay.
Anyway, that was my last night.
All right.
Oh, by the way.
Yes.
Before we get into DVDs, by the way, big DVDs today.
Oh, it's a huge week.
A science fiction classic and a science fiction thought it was going to be a classic, wound up not being a classic.
We got presidential movies, we got all kinds of stuff. It's a big week. It is a great week.
What?
I gotta say, and I don't say that very often. Most of the time we walk in here, it's like, holy crap, do we really have to talk about it?
The Snorks? Do you ever have to talk about the Snorks?
Yeah, well, we'll make a quick
what would you
mention
like your food to be this week? You have a choice.
You know what I'd like?
What?
I'd like a chicken, I think.
Before the show,
that's my Christopher Walken impression.
Before the show, we watched Cooking with Walken on Funny or Die.
It's very
which,
funny.
by the way, wasn't all that funny, but just Walken is just funny by virtue of the fact that he's walking.
He walks out of his house with two of these stand-up doll women behind him, like what you would see in an old video by what's his name,
Ben Affleck sideswipes a Honda.
There we go. It's on.
He said, "Hi, knocked off your mirror. Very sorry. We'll cover everything, Ben." That was it.
Okay.
He also left his phone number, which is more valuable than the cost of the mirror. Okay.
Beautiful.
So
anyway,
moving
on.
What food would you like before we talk about
I don't know.
Okay, you have a choice. A little fudgy brownies. I might give you more than one.
Okay.
But they're about this big, about 2 inches by 2 inches.
Sure.
My 2 remaining chocolate chip cookies, which are pretty good.
Sure.
Or I did make something ambitious.
That scares
That
me.
turned out about 80% as good as it could have been. And I'm wondering what somebody else thinks of it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I made homemade Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the brownies.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want to try the homemade Pop-Tarts?
No, I don't like Pop-Tarts.
It's not a Pop-Tart. It's basically just like a little chocolate pie. I mean, it's pie crust filled with chocolate ganache.
Chocolate pie? Not like
It's
like
chocolate,
fruit?
A fruit, please. It's basically it's a pie crust
Okay.
with chocolate ganache in the middle, and so it looks like a Pop-Tart, but it's really a little tiny chocolate pie.
I think we're going to go with the brownies.
Oh God, I want somebody else to try that.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing.
You go with the brownies, and I'm going to talk about exploitation film.
Oh my God, all right, fine.
That's what you're going to do. And I'll knock this out. You know, we got 2 titles here, which are hilariously similar in their in the covers. They are both for any dirty old men out there that are looking for something that is just really, really titillating that you can watch without any of the women in your lives actually knowing about it. The first one is a mockumentary called Tight. Now, before you get any ideas, I want to assure you that's absolutely exactly what it is. This is about porn stars, female porn stars, who want to form a rock band. And that's essentially all there is to it. Is it any good? You know, it's a mockumentary. It's kind of Spinal Tap-ish. It's not that great by any chance, but porn stars that want to form a rock band, a mockumentary. Sure, I guess, whatever. It's totally cheap. They made this thing with next to nothing, and I assume that all these women in it actually do have something to do with the porn industry. So, there you go. It's there for anyone who responds to that. The other one is called Strip Mahjong Battle Royale. And this is from the Danger After Dark line. This basically has pretty much the same kind of cover, except they're Asian women instead of Caucasian women. And
you can't eat these now because they're frozen. Also, I threw in this super fudgy cookie because I'm trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Anyway, this is from the Danger After Dark line. It is. This is basically a Japanese. The Japanese make these really, really twisted kind of S&M softcore movies, and you don't need to watch more than about 10 minutes of this to realize that it's a completely exploitative play off of Fukasaki's Battle Royale, which of course is the film that is a better Hunger Games than Hunger Games, and it's just a twisted way of taking that and mixing it with a little bit of gore and a little bit of nudity and as much as Japanese cinema will allow, and there it is. Now, this thing was reportedly made in the 1970s. I can't confirm actually what the date is, but it's mildly entertaining for people who like that kind of thing. Val Guest, something of an exploitation auteur back in the day. Val Guest in 1972 made a movie called Au Pair Girls, which is kind of redundant because an au pair is usually a girl, so Au Pair Girls doesn't really make a lot of sense. But, Val Guest doesn't really care. This is just one of those films that is out there to convey an idea, and next thing you know, there are nipples and all kinds of ridiculous scenes everywhere. I'll say I like Val Guest stuff a lot better than I like the Italian equivalent of this stuff made around the same time. It's sort of a little bit more cheeky, so to speak, than the American exploitation nudie cuties from about a decade earlier. But the fact that it's British somehow makes it, a little more entertaining. And then we have a thing from the Something Weird collection. We love these guys. They were so good to us when we made our documentary Schlock, The Secret History of American Movies. We licensed a lot of stuff from Something Weird. They are sort of the go-to library for exploitation cinema, and this is an absolutely terrific set. This is 6 Weird-Noir B-movies. And it is a really terrific collection of movies that nobody would actually want to watch otherwise, but the fact that you get them all on one collection is great. These are B-movie noirs stars, and they are all from the 1950s and 1960s. And we include here Girl on the Run, The Naked Road, The Seventh Commandment, Fear No More, Fall Guy, and Stark Fear. I don't know if Seventh Commandment might actually be the most entertaining one of these, just because it's just so insane how much genre stuff they squeeze into this that makes no sense. The plot makes absolutely no sense. But as far as actually being a decently made movie, Girl on the Run might actually be the better one, because a very, very young, not yet a star, not even remotely recognizable Steve McQueen shows up in it.
Steve McQueen?
Yep.
Never heard of him.
And then lastly, from the Nikatsu Erotic Films Collection, which is a line released by Impulse Pictures, we have the 1981 film, which is just barely almost out of the 70s, Nympho Diver G-String Festival. Mark, let me repeat. The name of this movie is Nympho Diver G-String Festival.
You know what that sounds like?
What?
You know how when they come out with American films overseas, they always wind up messing up like the title. It winds up being translated oddly. I bet that like Nympho Diver G-String Festival is actually like The Master. Like that's how they translated The Master into Japanese.
I know. Well, apparently the whole diver genre, which is girls who go snorkeling with next to nothing on, is some kind of subgenre in Japanese semi-erotic films. And Japanese pink cinema. Andy and I did an audio commentary for some pink cinema films some years ago, and we just find the whole thing just so bizarre and curious. It's some of the stuff that just goes on in Japan perplexes me. I really don't understand it. Anyway, to try and make sense of this, they do include some liner notes from Japanese film scholar Jasper Sharp, which could be a little more substantial, but they get the job done. Mark, I just want to share one bit from the packaging with you. The first photo on the back of the box. What do you make of that down there? Explain that to the folks out there in listener land.
It's something that you would see in a porn film. In fact, this whole thing is something you'd see in a porn film. In fact, this thing is a porn film.
It's an erotic film.
Porn film.
It involves a lot of soap. I'll say that. It's awfully sudsy. And that's about all they can show on the box.
All right, can we talk about something people care about?
Yep, let's do it. We got a few more lingering television titles here, some foreign stuff. We can get to the rest of the foreign stuff.
The Snorks.
Yeah, forget about the Snorks for now.
Wait a minute, I want to talk about the Snorks.
Okay, go ahead and talk about the Snorks if you want.
This is the worst show ever. Oh, Snorks is a Hanna-Barbera show from like 1984. Ran for like 5 years. This thing did, and it's a terrible show. And it's one of those like mid 80s mail it in rudimentary animation, just ridiculous backstory of like these underwater creatures who live in Snorkland. And in fact, I think that the only reason why people know the Snorks is because Family Guy did a funny bit on the Snorks, where there was like Family Guy.
They're a ripoff of the Smurfs, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the Snorks have this little snorkel on top of their head. And when they get excited, the snorkel, stands up on itself.
This is a kids show?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, it was so funny. Family Guy did this funny thing where like a guy snork and a girl snork are having dinner. It's like a date. And so the girl snork drops her fork on the floor and bends over.
Yeah.
And then as she bends over, the guy snork stares at it, and then his little snork thing goes up and up and up.
Creative humor.
It's funny, and now he's hosting the Oscars. By the way, there was some decent voice. It doesn't say it here. Does it say it here? No, it really doesn't. There's some good voice acting on this show. You realize that Renee Auberjonois was on the show? Nancy Cartwright, right, from The Simpsons?
That's great.
She was a voice on the show, 1984. Edie McClurg, right? Come on. Frank Welker from Mystery Science. Anyway,
fabulous.
The Snorks is terrible. Anyway, complete first season of The Snorks. A whole lot of stuff going on here. There's no special features, but I just think the show is stupid.
Awesome.
It was stupid in 84. It's stupid now.
All right. Really quickly, some foreign language stuff just off the top. We got a bunch of other foreign stuff we may or may not get to by the end of the show because we do have a Vox Box this week. And we got some... Not yet. Not yet. And we got some listener mail we're going to try and squeeze in. But we got a lot of movies to cover. So I want to go real quickly through some of the foreign language stuff that I want to get out of the way at the top of the show. The first is Flying Swords of Dragon Gate. This is a Blu-ray 3D and Blu-ray combo disc. And they also sent us the DVD, which is pointless. The film's gorgeously shot. So if you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it in Blu-ray. It's just the colors are better, the sound is better. The Blu-ray 3D, not so much. And so I'd say Blu-ray, yes. DVD, no. Blu-ray 3D, no. And here's why. This is the third movie to tell the story of Dragon Gate. The first two were obviously from the 1960s, the King Hu film, which was made in Taiwan, and Hong Kong, a little bit of Hong Kong talent involved. And that's kind of like a John Ford Western-style film. It's one of the all-time great martial arts films. And then Choi Huk made his version of Dragon Gate in like 1991, 1992, which was one of the early seminal films of the... and Choi Huk only produced it, by the way. He didn't direct that one. One of the seminal films of the Hong Kong New Wave. So the story, each film was kind of archetypal of its era. And he wanted to go back and direct this one and give it a whole new spin, which isn't such a great new spin. It's loaded with talent, notably Jet Li, who, of course, is not so young anymore. And here's the problem, Mark. I saw this thing in IMAX 3D, and I think I told you this at the time. I fell asleep. And half the people in the auditorium fell asleep. In a movie that is loud and in your face with martial arts and people are getting speared and the whole thing, it's a whole, the story's a whole, like, feudal... medieval Chinese history thing where all these clashing forces come together in this remote inn out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And we figured out later on what the problem was. They did a 3D effect on the subtitles. So the subtitles are like suspended right in front of your face, like a pendulum, like if somebody's hypnotizing you. And it literally lulls you to sleep. Because when you're watching the movie and reading the subtitles, it's not a move of going up and down, just in a one-dimensional motion like you would do watching a regular foreign film. You're literally having to change the focal length of your eyes. So you're looking up, and then you're adjusting for distance, and then you look down and you adjust closer, and eventually you just fall asleep.
Well, your eyes get tired.
It's just ridiculous. It was just a stupid idea. I don't know why they thought that was going to work. Anyway, there's some interviews and behind-the-scenes stuff on here, but I got to tell you, the film, not so much. It's just watch one of the previous ones. Watch the originals; they're much better. Also worth mentioning is Train of Life by Radu Mihailianu. This was this film came in the wake of Life is Beautiful, and it's a French language film that did well at a number of festivals. It won the Audience Award at Sundance and did well at Venice as well. And it's a little bit like Tree of Life. It's a little bit like Life is Beautiful. In the sense that it tries to find something whimsical around the edges of the tragedy of the Holocaust. And it takes place in 1941, and it's basically about a Jewish community in France who escapes the Nazis by concocting this whole bizarre charade to hijack a train and make themselves appear like they're prisoners. And it's actually quite good. It's not as good as it should be, but it's worth looking at. It's worth a revisitation. Lovely little film, beautiful on Blu-ray, very nicely done, definitely worth a look. Also, Oscar-nominated Milk of Sorrow by Claudia Loza. This was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film a few years ago. This is tough to exactly explain this because it's a Peruvian film that has a conceit in it about a woman who does a certain thing to protect her virtue. And I don't know that we can actually talk about what it is that she does on this show.
Is it better or worse than that the film about remember the woman who had teeth in her private area?
Yeah, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. No, it's just I don't want to give it away, and it's a little odd, and I'm not. It's kind of funny in a way, but anyway, it's a good film, not a great film. I'm kind of surprised it was Oscar nominated, frankly. Then we also have all 6 Lone Wolf and Cub films finally out on Blu-ray, courtesy of the great people over at Animego. This is great. This is long overdue. These films are so great on Blu-ray, you have no idea. Animego always puts a lot of effort into making sure their transfers are pristine and that their elements are great. And this is terrific. The Lone Wolf and Cub films, in case you don't know, basically, it's a dad who's he's a Ronin, he's a masterless samurai, and he's got his little boy, and his boy's in this booby-trapped baby cart, and they're kind of roaming across the feudal shogun landscape of Japan, fighting people, killing people, and it's great. It's terrific. 6 films were made. They were eventually edited, and this is based on a manga comic book series, and they made 6 movies out of this, and then edited them down into 2 movies, the Shogun Assassin films that were released in the United States as Shogun Assassin 1 and 2. Those then inspired a graphic novel series that transplanted the story of Shogun Assassin into Gangland America, which was then turned into The Road to Perdition. So a comic book became a series of movies that were edited down into 2 movies, which then were released in the United States and inspired a graphic novel that then became The Road to Perdition.
Can you PowerPoint that? Because I'm confused.
Thank you. Just want to make sure you understand that. So Sword of Vengeance, Baby Cart at the River Styx, Baby Cart to Hades, Baby Cart in Peril, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, White Heaven in Hell. And the one thing I always love about these are the warnings that Animego puts on. This one says, warning, contains violence, nudity, and extremely hypertensive villains.
That's how we like our villains.
That's how we like them. Awesome. And then lastly, Criterion has released what has to be one of the most beautiful Blu-rays ever released. It is Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love on Blu-ray.
It's about time they came out with this on Blu-ray.
Man, I'll tell you, this film is just so unbelievably gorgeously shot. Chris Doyle, one of the all-time great cinematographers ever, and he's an insane guy. I mean, Chris Doyle is a great photographer. He's like, his whole life story is amazing. Chris Doyle was like homeless, and then he went wandering around the world and hitchhiking, and he's vagrant in places, and then found a camera and started taking photographs, becomes like some amazing still photographer, and then he becomes a cinematographer, and he's working with Wong Kar-wai, and they piss each other off all the time, and they break up and they get back together, and they break up and get back together and keep making movies. It's like Chris Doyle has this amazing story. He's Australian, and it's just this wild, weird, woolly, global adventurer lifestyle that he's had. He literally fell into photography and cinematography, but he's a genius at it. And this is one of the most beautiful films ever made. 1962, Hong Kong, the whole groovy 60s period is just so lush and so poetic, and it's just such a wonderful romance, It's a fascinating film with incredible performances from the amazing Maggie Cheung and the wonderful Tony Leung. So, and there's some stuff in here where they shot it at in Cambodia at Angkor Wat, the great collection of temples, the amazing wonder of the earth.
Gorgeous.
Gosh, it's just so incredible. Tons of extras here. Deleted scenes with commentary by Wong Kar-wai. Short film on it. I mean, I can't even get into all this stuff. It's just you can spend like 3 hours watching this. There are interviews with Tony Raines, and it's just on and on and on. Lots of stuff. Really great. Really, really great.
All right, wait. Here's the thing. First of all, I'm going to do some TV while you do 2 things.
What am I going to do?
One is you're going to eat this one brownie and one cookie. Tell me if you like them. And also, we're going to get to stuff that people care about because I'm tired of talking about this.
Okay. We'll knock out a couple of those TV things, and then we'll.
All right, the 6th and final season of Lucy Show. 24 episodes here from the good folks at Paramount and CBS DVD. They did a pretty good job on this DVD, considering that nobody really cares. There's outtakes. There's a clip from the Emmy Awards. There's a clip from the Carol Burnett Show. Lucy Show it aired from 62 to 68. It was Lucille Ball's follow-up to I Love Lucy. And it was not even remotely as good as I Love Lucy, although it did kind of, I think the reason why the show was so popular was because people just loved her. I can't say that the show was all that great, but they did do a good job with the DVD. Whitney season 1, in about 2011, all of a sudden Whitney Cummings was everywhere. And by the way, you realize that in my job, I did a pilot that Whitney Whitney hosted.
That's a very chocolatey cookie.
It is a very chocolatey cookie.
I mean, there's like a lot of chocolate in that cookie. I'm not going to get to sleep tonight.
It's a chocolate orgasm.
Holy cow!
Well, it's a chocolatey cookie. That's the point. Is it too chocolatey?
It's like, I don't know if it's too chocolate, but it's a lot of chocolate.
Yes.
My gosh.
It's meant to be a lot of chocolate.
Wow.
I do have another cookie that's a regular chocolate chip cookie if you'd rather cleanse your palate with that.
I'm freaking wired right now.
Anyway, Whitney is her sitcom, and this thing aired on NBC, and NBC has a whole lot of stock invested in Whitney. She does have a new show on E! coming out soon, and the season premiere of this Whitney show is coming up soon. Anyway, season 1 is 22 episodes. The show is kind of funny. It's as like most shows of its type. It having a little problem getting its sea legs, but I'm sure this season hopefully will be a little bit better.
That's a good brownie.
Thank you very much.
That's a good brownie.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to talk for the rest of the show like this.
Oh, please do that.
Okay, our next Blu-ray.
Anyway,
is a very good Blu-ray. It's got very good
This Blu-ray is a very, very, very fine Blu-ray. All right. Audio commentaries by Whitney Cummings and Chris D'Elia. The other star of the show is quite funny. But anyway, Whitney season 1, the show again. This thing kind of barely limped along. It didn't really do all that great. Although it did win its time slot a couple times, but still.
It's a weak show.
Season 2 seems like the make or break for this particular show, Whitney. Anyway, we have another CW show to talk about, and by the way, this is on DVD, not Blu-ray, which is weird. Nikita. Now, Nikita's kind of based on the Luc Besson film called Nikita, and this one stars Maggie Q. And it's a CW show, which means that all the girls are hot and all the guys are handsome.
It's the second series based on La Femme Nikita, and I'm tired of it. Stop. Do something else for a change.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, there's a couple good special features on this thing. It's a pretty well shot show. But you know what? Honestly, I'd rather watch what's the one by Jennifer Garner? What's the one? Alias.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Alias than watch this. Complete second season, Nikita. They're coming out with this to promote the new season, which episodes air Fridays. Anyway, so that's Nikita. Also, we have another 2-for-1 package deal on Bonanza. We have
nice.
Bonanza Season 4, Volume 1, Season 4, Volume 2. Bonanza ran for like 14 years. It's still airs in syndication somewhere, although not in L.A. I don't know if it airs in syndication in L.A. But anyway, it's you know what? At the time, it was a very popular show. It was Lauren Green, and him and his sons run a ranch, and who knows what they do? Touch little boys. I don't know what they do on the stupid ranch. Bonanza, come on. Who's going to buy that? Anyway, finally on the TV front, before we get to stuff people care about, Season 2 of Happy Endings. Now, here's the funny thing about Happy Endings is that it's Season 2 of Happy Endings. I bet you didn't even know there was a Season 1 of Happy Endings.
I didn't.
Happy Endings is not a very good show. It is on ABC. I don't really know how this thing limped along. You know what's funny about the show is that we'll talk about that in a second, Wade. Stop that. You know the pilot episode. Okay, the pilot episode of Happy Endings, a stupid ABC sitcom, was directed by the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
Now, the Russo brothers, their new film, the Captain America sequel. So somehow they went from directing the pilot for Happy Endings.
Nothing makes sense
to
anymore.
Directing the sequel to Captain America.
Nothing makes sense.
How does that
anymore.
work?
I don't know.
Anyway, Happy Endings is not a funny show. Season 2 on DVD, 21 episodes, 3 discs, deleted scenes and outtakes. Not worth it.
All right.
All right, Wade, the big one of the week. Well, actually, there's you know what? There's
it's two. We have a sci-fi twofer, an old one and a new one, and we're going to talk about what's happened to science fiction because I no longer have. Well, yeah, because it's an open door, you know.
I understand.
So before I jump into it, I just want to present this to you. Ouch!
Look at this.
Huh?
Look for it on Blu-ray in October.
I have in front of me two Blu-ray digital copy DVD combos. One, they both include Ultraviolet as the digital copy. So both of them have Ultraviolet, Blu-ray, and DVD. One is a new movie, one's an old movie. Both of them talk about man's relationship to aliens. One is E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial, Anniversary Edition, finally out on Blu-ray, first time ever. The other one is Ridley Scott's Prometheus, which was kind of a dud this last summer. It was hotly anticipated.
Literally, when I saw that trailer, I believe I had an erection.
Right?
I did.
Hello?
I did. I could not contain my excitement when I saw the trailer for
it
Prometheus, and then no film since I was like 16.
And when you finally saw it, it was like
confusing.
Like realizing that hot woman in the dress who turned around was your uncle. Right?
It depends which uncle.
Yeah, well, there we go. Here's the thing. I'm gonna first start with E.T. here, because E.T. coming out on Blu-ray is just so long overdue and so welcome and so wonderful. And a lot of us went and got the E.T. big giant box Blu-ray or DVD thing when it came out on DVD, and it was just huge and unwieldy and takes up all this space in the shelf. And you're going to want to get rid of that now because there's no reason. This has an incredible. Before I get to anything else, I just want to say an incredible 7.1 audio mix. Really, really terrific. They put a lot of work into the audio, and that's well going over there at Universal. I don't normally praise Universal's audio stuff, but they really did a great job on this. Forget all the other stuff, Pocket Blue app and BD Live, just junk all that stuff. Here's all that matters. The E.T. journals, which is all the original footage from when they actually shot the film, and then a thing called Steven Spielberg and E.T., which is a retrospective, looking back on the film, and Spielberg kind of waxing nostalgic, which he does probably better than anybody else. But between those two things, the then and the now stuff, absolutely terrific.
They get everybody back.
Well, they get
everybody back,
yep.
and they put them in director's chairs, and they talk
yep.
to them. It's great.
Yeah, and
Peter Coyote, they're all there.
Yep, D. Wallace Stone, the whole thing. And you know what? There's other stuff like little featurettes and things in the music, and the 20th anniversary premiere, and some galleries and things like that aren't that big of a deal. The other stuff is really terrific, but the film itself, it totally holds up. It's absolutely wonderful.
This thing was a phenomenon.
It was
when it came out,
yeah.
And I think this film and Close Encounters, they have two things. They have one thing in common, and it's that sense of wonder.
Yep.
And Spielberg, he did this film because he thought E.T. would be like the father he never had when his parents divorced, and the brother he never had. So it's coming from such an emotional place. It's not like, oh, let's make a movie so I can play with special effects like George Lucas does. The genesis of this movie to Spielberg was very genuine in his life.
Yep.
And you feel it when you watch the movie.
And what's interesting, too, is worth pointing out, Spielberg usually works with Michael Kahn. Michael Kahn is his editor guy for, like, everything he's ever done, except this movie. He worked with Carol Littleton. And because I guess Michael Kahn wasn't available. But it's an interesting exception to, his working methodology that he had a different editor on this film. E.T. made it made $399 million, almost $400 million in about 12 months' time, never made more than about $10 or $12 million in any given weekend. That's unheard of today. That is unheard of. Those kind of legs and that kind of saturation. It was a cultural phenomenon, and we just don't have that anymore. And I miss that.
No, the only movie. It's funny. I remember when Titanic. That was the last film that seemed to stay in theaters a lot longer than usual.
Yep.
Right nowadays, you're out in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you've got to make room for the next big summer blockbuster.
True.
That's why the studios bank on the opening weekend, because that's what it makes 2/3 of its money.
Yep.
Back then in 1982, you could let a film play in theaters for months, and people would see it 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
And you know what? Let's be
I remember
what.
I remember everybody wanted to see E.T. I'm telling you, man, in 1982, this thing was the S. This thing, everyone had to see it.
Oh,
so
it was. It was
I
unbelievable.
saw it at the Cinerama Dome.
I did too.
And I remember I was so excited. My dad was taking me to go see E.T., and I was looking forward to it. I was so excited. It was unbelievable. It was me and my father. It was wow, it's going to be a great father-son moment. And then, I was looking for, we were going to experience it together.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah, baby.
And then we're sitting in the seats, and about 15 minutes before the movie's going to start, my father turns to me. He says, I have to admit something. He goes, I saw this already.
Oh, devastating.
His second wife, my stepmother, really wanted to see the movie, so they went to see it without me.
That's
it was
great.
probably a school day or something like that.
Yeah.
And so my dad was now seeing it for a second time, and now he was taking me.
There
So
you
like
go.
this father-son bonding moment I thought I was going to have seeing it with my dad, it was like the second time he'd seen the movie already.
But it was still great.
Oh yeah, totally.
Freaking awesome. And I want to point out too, near the end when they're putting up the road blockade, they have guns again, not walkie-talkies.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if people know that, but one of the home video releases of the movie, they went in and they
This is not the special edition with all that stupid CGI ET going in the bathtub and all that junk. This is the original movie, unfettered, beautifully transferred, none of that other crap.
In the 20th anniversary edition, Spielberg decided to have the special agents' guns removed and replaced with walkie-talkies.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous, but now the guns are back.
And then let's talk about Prometheus. Prometheus, look, I'm not going to deny it. This is one of the better things that Fox has released in quite a while on Blu-ray. They really put some money into this. The audio, sensational. Picture, sensational. Nothing wrong with it. This is as good as Blu-ray can look, as good as Blu-ray can sound. And, of course, I love all the stuff with Michael Fassbender's, fawning over Lawrence of Arabia and doing his Peter O'Toole impressions. But as a prequel to Alien, I have to say it doesn't really do much for me. People just don't behave like nothing makes any sense in this movie. It's really quite silly.
It thinks it's a film of ideas. The problem is that it's a film of too many ideas that aren't fully formed.
That aren't formed at all. I mean, the idea is allegedly it's trying to get behind our origins, which I guess if I understand this film correctly, some big giant pale albino bald guy tore himself to pieces, and his genetic material somehow seeded us, and then somehow far in the future, there's the planet that will eventually produce the alien. Draws the attention of some human spaceship, and they go down, and all hell breaks loose. And that's kind of it, right? There's not much else to it. It's just a lot of set pieces, and
there's a lot of parallels to Alien. Obviously, it stars Noomi Rapace, who's the kind of the Sigourney Weaver character, and,
it's a great cast.
And of course, Fassbender, who's the
Guy Pearce,
the Ash character.
Guy Pearce is terrific. Idris Elba,
Guy Pearce wearing horrible old age makeup.
Idris Elba, Charlize Theron, playing the tough chick who's running the whole expedition there. Yeah, I mean, but it still didn't really do much for me. Great production design by Arthur Max, by the way. Arthur Max is one of the great all-time production designers. Just beautiful work. But otherwise, the movie doesn't really do much for me. So it's technically impressive, but that's about it.
Well, as you say, the Blu-ray looks amazing. It's a gorgeous, state-of-the-art Blu-ray. It's just that the narrative structure was just all over the place. The philosophical stuff never really went anywhere for me.
But you can keep the little toy E.T., by the way. That'll make you feel better about Prometheus.
Yes, thank you, Wade. That was very nice of you.
Yes.
Am I talking about these?
Yeah.
Why don't you eat the brownie?
I did.
Oh, did you like it?
Love it. It's a great brownie.
I'm just saying.
Nice brownie. Very good. And I may want that chocolate thing that you were going to feed me earlier, because you kind of got my appetite rolling.
What chocolate thing?
You got me on a chocolate high. That Pop-Tart thing.
Well, tell me now, because I have to put it in the.
Oh, you got to heat it up.
Well, it's a Pop-Tart.
We're talking about those. Heat it up. I'll talk about something else. We trade off. We work it here.
Now, when I was in New York about a year ago, I go to New York a couple times a year. When I was in New York about a year ago, I was told to go see Rock of Ages, the stage show, which I didn't want to see because I don't really like those jukebox shows. And I don't know what came over me, but I always want to see a show when I visit New York, and it was Rock of Ages. A buddy of mine had seen it like 3 times, and I said, you know what? All right, fine, I will go see Rock of Stupid Ages. It was so good. It was a lot of fun. The music was great.
But I've heard it's because of the live dynamic, because you're right there like it's a concert, right?
Two things.
Yeah.
One is the live dynamic, and 2, it realizes how ridiculous the music and the fashions were. There was a lot of winking going on. And I like that because, let's face it, a lot of 80s music was terrific, but a lot of 80s music was just like, what were we thinking?
True, yeah.
So I like the fact that it had that satirical streak to it. Then they came out with the movie Rock of Ages, and
not so much, right?
And not so much.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise.
I didn't dislike this movie, but I felt like it. When everybody starts singing "Motorin'" on the bus at the very beginning, even though I knew I was watching a musical, there was just something about it where I suddenly felt...
It felt very hard. It felt like it was trying very hard to please you. It felt very artificial. It felt like a jukebox. It felt like the jukebox show that the stage play didn't feel like.
I felt like I was naked in a shopping mall. That's how embarrassed I was for everyone on screen in that moment.
Why?
Yeah. So
can you explain that, please?
It's just you when you're embarrassed for people, when they're making such fools of themselves on screen that you feel physically embarrassed for them. It's a. Don't you ever have that feeling? Didn't you ever watch Different Strokes? Every single time Gary Coleman said, "What you talking about, Willis?" Didn't you just feel like you were naked in a shopping mall?
No, I love it.
Oh, jeez.
Come on, what's up about Willis?
Oh,
the greatest
so
ever.
Embarrassing. It's like Kiss My Grits, Mel. No,
that show I actually never liked.
No, it's embarrassing.
Anyway, all right. So this is it's very lightweight. It feels like a jukebox show, and you miss the live energy. It's very garish but kind of bland. The staging is, and the script does not have the snap, the satire of the stage show. And I got to say, this thing was disappointing. Even people like Alec Baldwin, who are usually pretty priceless, I didn't think he did much for me here. I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise. I will defend Tom Cruise to the ends of the earth. He was the best thing about this movie because I do like him, and he played kind of a Axl Rose type.
I agree.
I did like him in it. The DVD looks terrific. The Blu-ray looks terrific. Again, the black levels are great. The detail's great. The neon is great. I don't know that this film was all that well shot. It was just sort of like lit very garishly, as I said before. but the audio is great, which of course is important.
Yeah.
The audio is great because you got to hear all those great sounds.
Liked Alec Baldwin, did not like the former Mr. Katy Perry.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't really buy him in this either. It's weird. Can I say something about John Cusack?
He needs to stop.
John Cusack.
he needs to stop thinking that he's got that kind of range.
John Cusack.
He does not. Ugh.
John Cusack is the best actor who's actually kind of never made a great film. I mean, he's made films we've all enjoyed. High Fidelity and whatever. But he's kind of like, I feel like this guy, there's something about, he feels like he's like a souffle that's never quite risen as high as it should.
I agree.
He's good. I like him.
I felt like there were some movies like Grosse Pointe Blank and City Hall.
I love Grosse Pointe Blank. It's terrific.
And City Hall, which was flawed but ambitious, where he could and should have maybe popped it up a notch, but it never happened for him.
I just think and he's done a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of different kinds of things. I thank him for trying. But The Raven, which is where Cusack plays Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, look, it's basically a low budget. Relativity decided, hey, Warner's making a bunch of money off of those Sherlock Holmes things. How can we make one of those kind of period detective action things? How can we rip them off? I know, we'll make a Sherlock Holmes movie, except it'll involve Edgar Allan Poe.
Problem is that
Edgar Allan Poe is Sherlock Holmes.
Well, it was directed by James McTeague, who also did V for Vendetta.
Yes, and James McTeague, in case people don't know, James McTeague directs movies where menacing people put on cloaks and run in slow motion down backlit hallways. That's what he does. Seriously, that V for Vendetta is nothing but that. This is the same movie. As soon as somebody shows up here with a cloak running down a backlit hallway in slow motion, I just thought, really, is that all you can do? Is that your only thing? Is that your hallmark?
Anyway, I just thought this thing was preposterous, and and Cusack just acts himself into a lather for absolutely no reason. And, I just think that the thing was just created out of the spare parts of better films, and I just think it was a total misfire. And I'm not really quite sure what they expected from this. What did they expect from this film?
I have no idea.
It's not going to make $200 million.
I don't know what Relativity expects for anything they make. It's a failed enterprise. I don't understand any of it. All right, go fetch me that food, man.
Now, here's the thing. Because we're in a hurry, because the show's going to be over soon, I have to pop this in the toaster.
That's fine.
I don't know what's going to happen when I pop this thing in the toaster.
Pop it in the toaster, man. This is dynamic. This is like always an adventure on this show because we have no professional ethics whatsoever. All right, I'm going to mention a bunch of things from the 20th Century Fox Filmmakers Signature Series. There are a bunch of noteworthy films that they've released as part of this new Signature Series, which comes in with a slip cover that's kind of a standard packaging and a little signature by the director, and it's all meant to sort of take films that would otherwise not be all that attractive as standalone titles and make you feel guilty for not buying them because you have to have them all. And so that's why we're going to throw Ed Burns' She's the One in here. This was his follow-up to the Brothers McMullen. My goodness, Mark's making noise. This was one of his follow-up films to Brothers McMullen, where he was kind of trying to step it up a bit and work with bigger actors. And you got Jennifer Aniston and Cameron Diaz in this, which is really, really putting himself in good company. But you know what? It still kind of feels like lightweight Woody Allen. Not great, not bad, but it's just more of his kind of relationship stuff that he does. And it's a Blu-ray. These are all Blu-rays, by the way. Not a film that really absolutely has to be on Blu-ray. It's not going to, if you have it on DVD, you don't need to upgrade. It's not going to do much for you. Film that absolutely deserves to be part of this series, The War of the Roses, Danny DeVito. I don't know, I want Danny DeVito to get back into the director's chair and start making feature films again. He is a tremendous director. War of the Roses, just from the incredible homage shot that pays homage to Citizen Kane at the very beginning all the way through. This is one of the most brilliant black comedies I have ever seen. It is genius. The movie, of course, is all about a complete disintegration in a marriage. Two people who fall in love, and then everything just goes completely and totally to hell. Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, with Danny DeVito as the attorney, who is kind of the flashback device. But what a great film! It's so stylish. It's so dark. It's
Which one?
War of the Roses.
Oh, it's a great film.
Oh,
it's so much. You know what? He
incredible.
had such an interesting sensibility. He did a bunch of good films.
He's got to get back in the chair.
I know. But you know what? He also did Hoffa. We don't know about Hoffa.
Well, we got that coming up too. We got that coming up too.
Okay.
I'm just mixing it up a bit. Now, as long as we're moving into, talking about Edward Burns stuff, I just said boo to She's the One.
Say boo to all of his stuff except for the one you're holding.
Yeah, because this is the good one. This is the one that kind of started it all for him, Brothers McMullen, which was his low-budget Sundance film that won the Sundance Film Festival. And, because he made it with very few resources and didn't have an ego and didn't have anything to lose, it's a better film. And it's a terrific cast, except for Maxine Bonds, who was his girlfriend at the time, who was a terrible actress and was only cast in the movie because she was his girlfriend at the time. Otherwise, the commentary is good. It's a decent film, but again, not essential to have it on Blu-ray. Wall Street, Michael Douglas. As long as we're talking about Michael Douglas, War of the Roses, we also have Oliver Stone's Wall Street on Blu-ray here as part of the signature series. You know what? I have issues with Wall Street. A lot of other people don't. A lot of people love it. I think it's a cartoon. I don't think it's all that great of a movie. I also think it is structurally exactly the same thing that he did in Scarface. Every character in Wall Street has a parallel in Scarface. If you think of Michael Douglas's character as Robert Loggia's character from Scarface and Charlie Sheen as the Al Pacino character, and if you draw a line from Daryl Hannah to Michelle Pfeiffer, you start to kind of figure out what he's doing. It's a well-made film. It's not a very deep film, I don't think, and I like Wall Street 2 a lot better. But that being said, it's a good Blu-ray if you like it. And then we've got Hoffa, which Mark just dissed a second ago, which is one of Danny DeVito's less successful films as a director. I prefer when he makes stuff like Throw Mama from the Train and
Throw Mama from the Train.
The best, right?
And Ramsey.
Tap, 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 like a fat little pigeon. It was the best. That was the best. No, this is Danny DeVito trying to be a little bit more self-important with Jack Nicholson playing, of course, the man whose body they thought they found under some driveway again the other day, but of course, no. It's always a misfire every time somebody thinks that they've found Hoffa's body. Incredibly, David Mamet wrote the screenplay for this, and it's a misfire for him as well. So a rare misfire for just about everybody involved, except, frankly, for Jack Nicholson, who was really good in the movie. It just doesn't have a lot to do. Also, a very, very good score, by the way, by David Newman of the famous Newman family. I actually, believe it or not, I sat in on some of the scoring sessions for that.
That's why you mentioned it, not because you like the score.
No,
you want to
I'm talking about the
drop.
signature series.
Oh, who cares?
And then lastly and not least, from the signature series, William Friedkin. That's right, French Connection, finally, which was available at Best Buy as an exclusive.
I
for a while.
had that version, and I got it at Best Buy. Now it's available for regular people.
Now it's available.
I'm not special anymore.
No, you're not. So anyway, commentary with Friedkin, as well as a commentary with Gene Hackman and the late Roy Scheider, and isolated score, deleted scenes, lots of great stuff here. French Connection, one of the great all-time American cop films, one of the great films of the 70s.
Love it.
On Blu-ray, finally, for everybody who doesn't shop at Best Buy to go and dig. It is awesome.
Okay, wait, here's the thing. I tried what you are staring at right now, which I had to pop in the toaster, which I have no idea what it's going to taste like out of the toaster, is my third try at making a homemade Pop-Tart.
Okay. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat this. You're going to talk about those, and then we'll do some Vox Box, and then we'll wrap everything up.
No, I'm not sure if this is going to taste good.
Okay.
In fact, I'm very curious to see. No, you got to be honest.
Okay, I'll be honest.
It's probably. Hang on, I have to watch Wade as he eats this.
Flaky.
Oh, flaky's good.
Flaky. Buttery.
Oh, that's good.
Gentle.
Gentle? I don't know what that means.
Swedish.
Swedish or sweetish?
Take your pick, whatever.
I'll take sweetish, not Swedish.
Danish.
Now, you can't lie to me. If you liked it, tell me you like it. If you don't like it, you got to tell me what you don't like about it. Except for the fact that it might be cold in the middle because, again, we're in a hurry. Forget that part.
No, it's nice.
Seriously.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Don't lie to me.
No, the chocolate could be a little better.
Okay. That's fine.
Could be a little more
What?
ganache.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the chocolate's a little bland.
Okay. That's fine.
But the pastry is very nice.
Okay, here's the thing. The reason why this is so interesting to our listeners love when we talk about this. The reason why I made chocolate Pop-Tarts was because I'm taking this 8-week professional baking course, and I have found that making a pie crust is very difficult to get right. And so I've been seeking out recipes that require I make a pie crust. So I saw this Pop-Tart recipe.
Very nice.
That's essentially a pie crust with chocolate in the middle.
Right on.
So you realize that is my third attempt.
All right.
That is my Wade. There was literally 16 homemade Pop-Tarts in the garbage.
16?
In the garbage. Because
Wow.
the first 8 I made... Here's what happened. So the first 8 I made...
Some hobo is going to be really well fed tonight.
I know. Oh, but they taste terrible. The first 8, I put them in the oven, right?
I think a hobo cares.
I know.
They're hobos.
Yeah, but now it's like ants and rats are eating it. Anyway,
So?
so the first 8 I put in the oven, right?
It's that or the Big Mac left from some other hobo.
I'd rather have that.
Okay.
So the first 8 I put into the oven, right? 15 minutes into its oven time, I open the oven, and there are 8 Pop-Tarts swimming in a pool of melted butter at the bottom of the pan. Okay? All the butter has been just melted and is not actually in the pastry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a goner. What? Oh, well,
Get to the Blu-ray.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
So then I decided to make it again because I think I got it figured out. I think I know what the problem is. I make another 8. And by the way, these things are a pain in the ass to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I pop it in the oven. I'm confident I got it figured out. I check 15 minutes into its oven time, open up the door, and there's 8 beautiful Pop-Tarts swimming in a pool of melted butter at the bottom of the sheet pan. So that's garbage time. So that's now 16 homemade Pop-Tarts that are in the garbage. I wake up this morning. I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to make it one more time. I've got enough ingredients to make this thing one more time, and I think I got it figured out. So I made it one more time, and I figured out what was wrong, and that's the one you're eating, and that one tastes decent, right?
Totally decent.
Thank you.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Thank you very
All
much. Okay. Dave is an Ivan Reitman film, which, by the way, was written by Gary Ross. Gary Ross, of course, wound up being the director of The Hunger Games, and Gary Ross was a writer before he became a director, and I think a very good director. He was, directed Pleasantville and a couple other films. Anyway, Kevin Kline plays this presidential lookalike who is recruited to stand in for the president, and Sigourney Weaver plays his wife. And this is a terrific satire. There's a lot of funny stuff in it. It's very sweet. But it's still funny. It's a little bit corny, but it's lighthearted, and it's fun, and it's good-natured, and I really like it a lot. It's on Blu-ray. The special feature, the making of, is whatever. It's really nothing to buy the Blu-ray over. But it is the first time it's on Blu-ray, so if you do like Dave, and it is a terrific comedy, I would go ahead and check this out. I would at least rent it, because, again, you probably never heard of it, probably never saw it, because it's never been on Blu-ray.
Watch it on election night so you don't stress out.
Exactly. Speaking of election night, we have the American president. Now, the American president, this is an early Aaron Sorkin script, and this was directed by Rob Reiner. This was sort of at the tail end of Rob Reiner's amazing run of great film after great film. This one I found to be it's a good film, I have to say, but it's all about this very liberal Democrat played by Michael Douglas, who is
It's Michael Douglas week, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I love Michael Douglas. I really do. I always have. He's cool. Up for re-election, super liberal Democrat, and he winds up meeting this very beautiful environmentalist played by Annette Bening, and they sort of fall in love. What's going to happen? Blah blah blah. So this is
the movie with Richard Dreyfuss playing the evil Republican guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just such a cartoon.
But you know what it is? What I liked about American President is that it's great mainstream middle-brow entertainment.
In other words, the kind of movie they don't make anymore.
It's like, this would star Jimmy
don't.
Stewart in
Yeah.
the 50s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I liked it.
And today it would star like
No, today it wouldn't get made.
yeah, today it wouldn't get made. But if it did get made, it would star Adam Sandler, and he'd be running around, with like a propeller beanie on his head, driving a big wheel through the halls of the White House.
Okay, so you really didn't hate that Pop-Tart? It's very important to me.
No.
That's my third. There were 16 Pop-Tarts in the garbage being eaten by rats. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very important that I knew what your thoughts were.
Wow, I'm kind of flattered.
Okay, so it wasn't bad.
It works.
Okay,
no.
but the chocolate wasn't that great.
It got better as it got in the middle.
Okay, but the pastry was good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, very nice.
Very
You're turning into quite a pastry chef, I have to say.
Thank you.
I think I could get a job for you at a bakery somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Making McDonald's biscuits. All right, what else we have? Wait, do we know? Do we have a?
Yes, we're gonna.
What do you have? What do we
We're
have?
gonna do
What's
Vox
going on?
Box and listener mail now.
What?
Yes.
Can I sing the song?
Go ahead, do the song.
Hello to Wade and Mark. My name's Carlos from Melbourne, Australia. you're another Australian listener. But if I have lost my Australian accent, it's because, I'm training to be an actor, so I'm trying to sound like an American person. But aside from that, I've been basically going through film history, I've been watching Charlie Chaplin films, I'm up to like the 1960s right now, and I saw the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which I really like, and I did a little bit of research on it, and there are like 3 versions of the film. There's the 210-minute version, the 192 version, and I think there's another one for like 159, so 160-minute one. And the 210 version's been known to be lost footage because, I think it was hard to find, or it's pretty hard to replicate. So I was wondering, will there ever be a release for at least the 190-minute version? Because so far they've only been releasing the 160-minute version on Blu-ray, but I want to know, will they ever get the 192 version? Because they've pretty much given up on the 210-minute version. Thanks.
Awesome question from Carlos in Australia. Carl, that is a really, really interesting story, and it's...
It was the preview showing that they showed a 3.5-hour cut. That was the preview showing. The actual release version was not 210.
Here's the problem. The 210-minute version is the roadshow version. It's the widescreen 70 millimeter Big Mama, whatever it was. It was super something a scope 70. I forget exactly what the format was the film was shot in. It was one of those mega widescreen formats at the time, and if I recall correctly, it's a wider format than when they cut it down for regular release. So the roadshow release was the longer film, the wider film. The problem is that there are big gaps in the prints that they have that they would be able to use to restore that. So they don't have those original elements, and I would have to I'd have to do a lot of research into this to really find out what the status is. I know I've had some talks in the past with Robert Harris, the, of course, brilliant archivist, who has this entire history committed to memory, and we should have Robert Harris on the show at some point and let him kind of talk about a lot of these stories, because there are half a dozen films out there that right now are in jeopardy, believe it or not, and this is one of them. And somewhere the elements for that exist, and they have to be able to track them down. I mean, you would think somewhere somebody's got to have the missing pieces to fill out that 210-minute version.
You know what? Honestly, here's the thing.
Yeah,
I have the missing pieces because I don't want people to see a 3.5-hour comedy.
It is so freaking funny.
No, it's not.
It's awesome.
I'm the one guy who thinks that movie is just bloated, and just overrated, and just a big gigantic.
So
it's like the Hindenburg of comedies.
Let me explain something to you. Any movie that involves Dick Shawn wearing little red shorts can be as long as it wants, because Dick Shawn is hilarious.
3.5 hours. Stop that.
Dick Shawn is hysterical.
Yeah, no. When
Come
I
on.
watch that film,
he's
now,
Ethel Merman's son in the movie.
When I watch
I'm coming, Mama. There's Dick Shawn
that,
in red shorts. Give me a break. It's funny.
I pop that into the DVD machine and I press double time, because on a PlayStation 3 you can press the button and it plays it at double speed, but you can still hear the dialogue. Okay, that cuts it down to about 7 hours. And then I stop it on the funniest scenes. I'm just telling you. I'm the guy.
Well, here's
wow.
Hang on before we.
I want this. Is this the movie?
Yes, it is. Before we get into before I allow you to go nuts on those. Because I got some other stuff here I got to talk about too. The answer for that, frankly, is we don't know. Nobody really knows. It is a detective effort now to track down the missing pieces of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and once they do, then obviously to make a big deal out of it and to generate enough hype that people are going to want to buy it and want to see it again. And that's always the driver in these things: is there demand for it to justify the restoration, to justify the archival effort? And a lot of these studios don't think there is. So we have to keep kind of plugging away and encouraging people to, make a fuss and, let them know, just post on whatever forums are out there and let them know, and we'll certainly let them know that there is interest in this, and that if they actually make the effort to get put some money into the movie, they'll get it back when they make a big stink out of it. So we don't know. We really don't know, but we keep hoping, and I kind of feel like that's something that will eventually manifest itself, if not in the next couple of years, certainly in the next 4 or 5 years. I think we may kind of see a break in that. So, maybe technology will catch up and they'll be able to do it without tracking down some of the elements that they think they need. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Here we got a couple of great Blu-ray book deals this week. And Warner Brothers, of course, pioneered the Blu-ray book, and all other Blu-ray book Digipack book Blu-ray combos from other studios are pretenders to the throne. I'm talking about Little Shop of Horrors here, the director's cut, with the completely restored original ending where the friggin' plant just goes totally Godzilla, and that is just so much fun. Nobody quite knows why that ending was removed. I think David Geffen had a problem with it at the time or something like that, but it really makes no sense. It was just a great ending, and it should have always been the ending of the movie. Wonderful commentary with Frank Oz on the theatrical version, and then an optional commentary on the 20-minute alternate ending. And you can watch either version here. But the original ending is what belongs on this movie. It really does. It's just sensational. A lot of other featurettes, and it's a wonderful Blu-ray book, a fantastic transfer. Of course, the original film was a low-budget Roger Corman film that co-starred Jack Nicholson. This is the brilliant, brilliant musical, the Broadway musical made into an amazing Frank Oz-directed film that I still think is one of the most entertaining film musicals of the last 30 years. I think it was after the golden age of the musicals, this is when it really all kind of started to come together again, and I just love this film. I think it's so well directed. Down on Skid Row, man.
It is a good movie. Steve Martin.
He's so good.
He's so funny.
He's so funny.
Steve Martin. So there are two versions of Magical Mystery Tour, which are out. One is just the Blu-ray, and the other is a Blu-ray collector's box set that has like replicas and props and memorabilia and all that kind of stuff. What we're staring at now is just the Blu-ray itself. What happened?
You're a fan of this, aren't you?
I am. Well, I'm a fan. Yeah. I love the Beatles. I mean, look, when after Sgt. Pepper came out, the Beatles just decided to take a bus and go into the English countryside and film crap, and that's what they did. And make no mistake, it's like 55 minutes of just completely self-indulgent whatever. It's psychedelic and it's ridiculous and it's really just a bunch of nothing. But it's Beatles nothing with great songs, and the Blu-ray has a director's commentary from Paul McCartney, ladies and gentlemen. It's got a making of, which is great, and it's got a couple of featurettes on it. So considering it's only like a 1-hour movie, and it ain't much of a 1-hour movie, I mean, aside from the music, they did a great job on the Blu-ray. So I would highly recommend the Blu-ray of Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. Also on Blu-ray, we have a film that I remember I saw at the time, and I didn't like at all, called Cold Creek Manor. Cold Creek Manor was directed by Mike Figgis, and Mike Figgis...
Yeah, not so much into this movie.
Yeah, and his biggest film was Leaving Las Vegas, and which is a very dark and edgy and wonderful, I don't know if wonderful is the right word, but a terrific film. This one is more of a thriller. It's one of those... family wants to escape the big city, so they move to the countryside, and of course their life in the suburbs becomes a nightmare. And it's got a good cast: Dennis Quaid, Sharon Stone. Stephen Dorff is never all that great, but anyway, this thing was just a dud. I don't know what Mike Figgis was thinking. This whole thing is mailed in. So Cold Creek Manor,
Very
not into
strange.
it. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. That is an interesting film. This is the 20th anniversary Blu-ray. There's no there's no special features on this thing. Curtis Hanson had a moment, and now that moment's over.
Curtis Hanson started. He was another one of those guys that came out of low budget exploitation films out of the Corman factory, and then kind of like Jonathan Demme before him, he segued into legitimacy by making
LA Confidential.
Well, movies like this actually, where it's still an exploitation film, but it's got a studio budget and an A-list cast, and somehow it doesn't feel like an exploitation film. And then he was able to segue into stuff like LA Confidential, and somehow he's gone now.
He is gone. Well, he did 8 Mile. That wasn't very well received.
I don't know what drives him. He's a hard guy to figure out.
Why not? Well, here's the thing. This was a couple years before LA Confidential, and this is one of those. It's very B-movie-ish. A lot of shock effects. I think this is before he became like the adult filmmaker. I mean, when I say adult, more the mature filmmaker that he is now. This is much more of a thriller. It's got some moments. It's never been on Blu-ray before. If you've never seen it, you can go ahead and give it a rental. I don't think it's worth buying. So there you go. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Not much there.
Not much. And we're going to wrap out with a couple of Bette Davis movies. One, an absolute must-own. The other one, not so much. Not that Dead Ringer is bad. It's Bette Davis and Carl Malden and Peter Lawford in kind of, It's directed by Paul Henreid, who really is not a director. He's an actor. But this was kind of an attempt to transfer the popularity of whatever happened to Baby Jane into a new Bette Davis vehicle, and not so much. Doesn't really work. It's Bette Davis playing psychotic twin sisters
for the second time.
Yes,
she played twin sisters before. In, hang on, A Stolen Life.
Yes. This is not anything like that. It's kind of campy in not a good way, and you sort of wish everybody involved had not made this because the motives were all completely wrong. Gene Hagen, however, very, very entertaining. Carl Malden, Peter Lawford just kind of walk through it. Everybody's sort of collecting a paycheck. But speaking of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, that's where we're going to end this week. We have another fantastic Blu-ray book from Warner Brothers on Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, the anniversary edition, which lets Bette Davis and Joan Crawford, both of them lifelong rivals in their waning years, they just ham it the hell up in this. And Bette Davis is just so weird and spooky. And it's just genius. This is one of those weird movies that just kind of came around at the right time. It doesn't feel like an old Hollywood movie. It feels almost like a David Lynch film. It feels very weird and fringe. The titles, everything about it is just kind of a little bit tweaked. And it's really, really fun. Robert Aldrich kind of hit his career pinnacle with this. An amazing screenplay by Lucas Heller, and a great commentary on this Blu-ray with Charles Busch and John Epperson, who just tell you everything you need to know about the movie and then some. A bunch of documentary featurette profiles on Betty and Joan, and Betty Foster individually, and Joan Crawford individually, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and an excerpt from the Andy Williams Show of 1962 with Bette Davis on it. This is a great, great set, and the transfer is so good. This movie has amazing black and white photography, and it's just, my highlight of this movie, my favorite thing in this movie, Victor Buono. Victor Buono, who, by the way, I don't know if you know Victor Buono. Remember, he runs away from Bette Davis at one point, and she stands there in the doorway and says, "He hates me." That's great. No, there's Victor Buono, the only actor to play a villain, a supervillain, a recurring supervillain character who does not get caught on two different television shows. Did you know this? Batman. He played. Who did he play on Batman? Played King Tut.
Oh, that's right. Played King Tut on Batman.
But you know what the other role is that Victor Buono played on a show similar to that?
I do not.
But it never really materialized in anything because Miguelito Loveless was so popular, they kept bringing him back and back and back. However, Victor Buono, they tried to turn him into another one of those villains on the Wild Wild West as Count Manzeppi. Aren't you glad that I know that?
I'm glad of nothing you know.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm glad of nothing you've ever said or known.
So that's it. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane? One of the all-time great black comedies. All right, so we're not going to get around to listener mail this week. We'll do that next week. If you want to send us your Vox boxes or your listener mail, please do so at gods@digigods.com. We'll see you next week.